If you have any issues hearing, just let me know. And I apologize for any inconvenience, especially for our audio. So I wanted to welcome everyone. Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. So our session will focus on WASH, climate change, and gender. We have an impressive lineup of speakers with us today, where we will touch base on different issues and aspects of gender within the WASH paradigm. So at the same time, excuse me. At the same time, we are bringing in climate resilience as an integral part of this discussion. So we all know that understanding the nexus of WASH, gender, and climate change will provide us with a way forward in solving the vulnerability issues surrounding vulnerable group of people, especially women. In order to do that, our speakers will present work from different perspectives and different regions as well, which ultimately will focus on leveling up the situation where women are in at present. So therefore, we will bring in not only problems, but we also want to find a way to solve the issues. If we think about the responsibilities and management of WASH services at household, we can see that historically it has always been women who does most of the work, and women collect and manage water for the family and receives very little to maintain their personal needs. And with climate change on the rise, with climate change impacts, rampaging our countries and our societies, extreme weather events can frequently hamper this issue. We can have inaccessibility of freshwater resources. In different regions, the problem will be different. In drier region, our water resources can dry up due to severe drought. And where there is a tendency of having extreme weather events like cyclones, we can see storm surges and saltwater intrusion can pollute freshwater resources, making women's situation more complicated. So without having the opportunity to participate in the decision-making process, women have less voice in the subject matter. And with this huge, introductory discussion points, I would like to introduce you to our distinguished panelists, speakers, presenters. We have 3 presentations today and 3 presenters from WaterAid, and we have a guest panelist, and I will introduce them to you while they are presenting. Firstly, I would like to introduce, if I'm really not pronouncing your name correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. Sigurda Abraham. She is a senior WASH manager and a policy advocacy program expert working currently at WaterAid UK. Previously, she worked as the head of advocacy and system strengthening in WaterAid Ethiopia and in various other organizations. So her presentation will focus on the gender intervention and experiences from Ethiopia and East Africa. So Sigurda, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to present today. And without further ado, I want you to have the floor.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Let me try to share my screen. I'm having some difficulty to share, maybe.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Fatin is trying for the sharing option.
Okay, sure,
Display.
sure. I uploaded all the presentation on Google Drive, so they're all there.
Can you please tell me
Okay.
what is the presentation name?
Okay, so can you project for me? Sorry.
Sure.
Can you please tell me the name of the presentation?
So WaterAid experiences from Ethiopia and East Africa. Yes, so much.
Is it this one?
Yes. Can I have a full screen? I don't know what happened. The title. That's okay. So the focus of my presentation is on climate resilient wash and access to gender, especially in Ethiopia and East Africa. So Jennifer already introduced me, so can we start? Can we move to the slide? Thank you. So I will go through the key outline. Climate change impact on women. Jennifer has mentioned. Then I will talk about the gender equality that we would use in this context, and some examples from East Africa as women. How can women be in wash climate gender? So I will lastly talk about actions in climate. Slide. Great. So as Jennifer also mentioned, climate change had some impact on women, and women actually face more risks and burdens, as all of you know. Functioning of wash services, wash. Climate risks also increase vulnerabilities for women and girls in relation to maternal and newborn health, for instance. It impacts women maternal health, basically, washing capacity. After disasters, women are more likely to be faced and be the victims of violence. And women are also more affected by droughts and because they have longer distances to collect water, but they also have the knowledge of how patterns have shifted and the type of solutions that make sense, but we don't consider them. Also, in relation to drought, mainly the scarcity of food and water supply, with stress, it has that impacts, interpersonal impact and inter-household violence impact on women. And also we find challenges and resilient solutions to climate change. So this is based on studies in East Africa. So what we say here is that women can and should be supported as agents of change on the successful adaptation. Women are already adapting. They have the experience, they have the knowledge of how climate trends have been affecting water supply access and quality. Despite their expertise, they are far from reaching spaces. We have to make sure that on the bringing adapting to climate. Okay, so WaterAid has used this continuum, gender equality continuum. Sorry, the titles are not appearing. So we, I think we can move forward and show the graph. So we commit to working in ways that encourage systematic and structural changes. So we say basically that inclusive, our minimum standards is to do for inclusive wash, which is participatory and accessible, and empowering. So we strive in outcomes to tackle unequal relations. But our long-term plan is to be transformative. We strive to transform power imbalances. But what we make sure slide don't want to count to bring impacts on women's lives that are harmful as a result of our programming. So we make sure that we don't cause more harms by our projects. Right? I don't know what happened to the slides here. But I will quickly go through this, even if it's not visible for participants. Apologies for this.
Tigardha, do you want me to try and share my screen? Because nothing is showing here. Can I try and?
Oh, okay, please do, because I'm
Yeah,
only,
okay, let me try, yeah.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. Can you screen?
Okay, now can you see now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
yeah.
go to next slide.
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect.
So apologies, I thought everyone was.
No.
I was not the one sharing. So let's the next slide. So from the gender equality climate and push, what we don't need that our advocacy service programming doesn't increase women's burden and expose them to any form of violence. And we don't want to have tokenistic type of participation and extractive type of. So inclusive, in terms of inclusive, we want women and men to have a greater understanding of water rights. And while modeling climate resilient water services that are gender responsive by producers. In regards to empowering want men and women boys to have self-awareness of unequal water, and women and girls to have challenge unequal water. In relation to climate water investment, gender responsive and social responsive. So these are the examples of what we want to achieve gender of what is climate. Lastly, in terms of transformative gender transformative wash. Let's move a slide.
Yeah, I think it's a bit slower.
Okay, that's it. So I can maybe continue talking about it. Women and girls want women and girls to have greater negotiating power and to wash water resource management, but also in climate negotiation and climate. So these are the key things we want to see on next slide. Great. So let me go directly now to what happened. What the as part of the Climate Action Fund project supported by the Rotary. Actually, this project was also a couple of countries, like Bangladesh, both in Asia and Africa. So for Ethiopia and India, had a specific gender wash and climate outcomes, focusing on engaging the agents of that program included pilot projects that how women innovations and expertise can transform lives and lives. So has embedded women enterprises that were, for instance, and also as part of Russian water. It also aimed to empower women in climate adaptation. WaterAid conducted a wash and climate change political and economic analysis, including a review of existing policies. Sorry, let's go back. Apologies. So it reviewed that a review of policies, and also as part of this project, WaterAid Ethiopia established new partnerships with the Consortium of Climate Change, and also of the association. It's a local consortium of 18 women to focus CSOs. So that was an important component of that project. So there were a number of analyses done as part of the project, and this analysis was summarized in policy and share those. There were policy roundtables and discussions conducted with national policymakers around gender inclusiveness and responsiveness within climate policies and strategies, and also specifically looking at women vulnerable to climate related. Also looked at the role of Ethiopian rights organizations and associations in climate adaptation. So as you can see in the graph, the Ethiopian delegates in FWC, especially the COP engagement, you can see that the number of delegates have consistently very low. So we were, okay, sorry if you cannot hear me. So it was given as a recommendation, change women represent climate adaptation and climate mitigation and negotiation. Slide. So yeah, I will go through the key recommendations very quickly. The recommendation from this program to government was that they need to ensure women will participate during policy preparation, implementation, and monitoring. Their capacity needs, especially their knowledge around water hazards and adaptation options. There should be a gender-specific budget for climate adaptation and the WASH and WASH-specific options. Gender-sensitive criteria need to all climate financing mechanisms, including adaptation. And climate change policies should be gender responsive to climate to the country develop specific policies and strategies related to climate change. Slide. In addition, investment in women leadership was also recommended, training and capacity to women organizations about the impacts of climate change, but also global climate to be able to promote women leadership at all levels. And also in terms of changing adaptation at the ground, livelihoods and strengths and adaptation by ensuring that women access and control ownership of resources. Thank you. So in East Africa, with the same projects, the postcode lottery project, WaterAid East Africa partnered the Strong Climate CSO, the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, engaged with climate stakeholders, mainly to ensure that there is a clear and measurable action. So this exercise was conducted in Uganda, Zambia, and so in Nigeria, for instance, the NDC review process acknowledged that there is limited women participation and need of review of policies and plans. In Tanzania, NDC review recommended design of women and that can transform gender. In Ethiopia, the review found out that the NAP has put in place about 18 adaptation options that have a strong link with them. And so gender considerations in the NAP have been included in the revised APCs. So, but also I wanted to share specifically Uganda's experience. So Uganda NDC partnership plan is actually a bit improved in the gender aspect. It included strategic areas related to gender responsive policy and institutional frameworks. So it has effective governance, has put in place effective institutionalized measurements. There's a specific measurement and verification, gender responsive adaptation. So they have specifically identified that. And Uganda has also now access to adaptation that have a strong gender responsive outcome. This project is just starting. It's the Uganda adaptation, and it's being delivered by WaterAid Uganda and the Ministry of Water. So it has a strong gender component, as I said. I didn't say the detail here, but they make sure that they have included that equal representation of men and women, participation in food value and catchment management. Also prioritized wash technologies that can be accessed by different gender groups. They also prioritize ensuring participation, awareness, raising safety, and database management on climate. They also have specific indicators for access to it, and also equitable participation and representing women and men, capacity building workshops and information forums in relation to other. So yeah, let's, in summary, what are the critical areas to deep gender action in climate adaptation? So a lot can be done, but just to give some ideas as closing, in terms of activities, gender budgeting can be considered as part of adaptation programming, research and advocacy on gender impacts of climate change, because impacts are not the same across gender and also across vulnerability. Women participation in planning and interpreting water committees, utility management can be considered. Women participation in government planning, policies, decisions, especially climate. Gender analysis to maps and these processes can be prioritized in adaptive programming. And also prioritization of the voice and participation of women and girls by actively promoting leadership, valuing their unique knowledge. As I said before, women know about the changes in their environment because they are responsible for and sanitation. And also assessing documents and response to mitigate gendered and unequal impacts of climate on marginalized groups. So what can we do to address these impacts, especially on marginalized groups, including women? The disaggregation of data and modeling of gender inclusive climate resilient wash services can be key outcomes and outputs. Women leadership and professional development at multiple levels can be included. We can push for that. Supporting women's wash private sector economic opportunities, because economic opportunities will increase adaptation and resilience of finally garner the support of influencers, strategic partners, and collaborators for accessing responsible climate resilient services and gender integration for climate wash strategies, policies, and plans. So these are some key gender actions that climate adaptation forward. So these are some of the experiences from the East Africa region. Yes, sorry, there were others, like the human rights-based approach, supporting women demand and know their wash rights is also an important component. Thank you very much, Bhakti.
Thank you, Sigarta. I think you have covered most of the issues that I think women all over the world are facing in regards to WASH, climate change. I think I picked up a few points from your presentation, which is very necessary, I think, for especially in the global south. I think women are not getting the equal opportunities, and equal representation is still a problem. And I think we all talk about participation in the decision-making process, but that's also, again, another issue that we are not seeing that much, not even in the international, climate change negotiations. Women's participation is still very low, and it's significantly low, because you can see I think there's a funny way to depict is that when you see the head of states taking a picture, I think there were only 4 to 5 women leaders, and all the rest were men. So I think that opportunity for equitable participation in the decision-making process will bring in more positive result in the climate justice and WASH services area. So thank you so much. And I think we will move on to our second presentation. So our second presenter is Mr. Mahdi Hassan. He is the Monitoring, Evaluation, Research and Learning Manager at WaterAid Bangladesh. So Mahdi Bhai will present a recent research study on gender assessment, which is part of one of the projects at WaterAid. It's called WASH for Urban Poor. Mahdi Bhai, you have the floor. If you want, I can also share the screen.
Thank you, Appa. But I can also share my screen as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So can you please confirm if you can see my screen and if you can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, and we can also see the screen.
So thank you very much, Jennifer Appa. So hi everyone, this is Mahdi Hassan, and I'm going to present on our recently conducted study that is, gender transformative WASH. So we conducted a gender transformative WASH assessment under one of our flagship program, that is WASH for Urban Poor, and the project is funded by SIDA. So, as I said, let me start with the presentation. So, as at the beginning of this discussion, as Jennifer Appa started with saying that, and women and girls, they have a very critical role in terms of managing WASH in household and community. But however, still they're lagging towards. Our society and community are lagging towards ensuring gender transformative WASH, and it is common at both urban and rural setting. And also historically, WASH services considered women's responsibility to meet the water and sanitation needs of the household. But as I said, despite their crucial roles, women and girls in urban significant gender inequality, and this inequality includes basically, they're openly left out from decision making. They were consulted less, and sometimes there are some taboos and social norms that actually hinders their access getting to WASH services. So this is the background, and moving forward. So the study was conducted in terms of targeting 3 specific objectives. The first one is gender inequality in WASH by identifying barriers. So what are the barriers and challenges are common towards achieving gender transformative WASH at both urban and rural settings? And the other one was, what are the current situation of in terms of gender awareness, access to resources, decision making, for gender transformative wash. And the third one is roles and responsibilities of government service providers. So how they're, what are the challenges that government service provider in, why they are not actually this or ensure the gender transformative wash services. So we conducted the study at 7 locations. So basically the Wash for Urbanpur project, the project actually has been working in 7 different locations. Out of them, 4 are municipalities and 3 are 4 are city corporation and 3 are municipalities. So in total, the sample was 550. So we conducted 550 household survey. And apart from quantitative survey, we had also some qualitative data collection. So we conducted 29 focus group discussion, 21 key informant interview, 12 in-depth interview, and 2 consultative workshop. One was held in Dhaka and another one was held in Khulna. And the project locations are for city corporation. For city corporation includes Dhaka North and South, Chittagong and Khulna, and 3 municipalities, that is Soyedpur, Shokipur, and Paigasa. So, so let me discuss the key findings that we have got from this assessment. So we found that out of 550 respondent, we found that around 20%, they informed that they feel marginalized. And out of this 20%, 91%, they were actually women. And the reason of for feeling marginalized, the main 2 reasons were economic and gender. The study also found that the respondents, they informed that most of them, they need to actually to collect water from the water point that is far from their residence. So if you look at the screen, you will find that in most of the areas, the average distance is 500 to 1000 meter. And the average time that is needed for water collection, that is also 30 to 60 minutes. Almost half of the cases we found that 30 to 60 minutes are needed for water collection. And frequency of water collection, this is multiple times in a day. And responsible for water collection, this is obviously, as I said at the beginning of my presentation, this goes to women. Mostly women. In some cases, we found both, but mostly women. So, like water, access to sanitation, in case of access to sanitation facilities, we have found that in most cases, we have found that these participants, they are actually using shared sanitation facilities in most cases. In very few cases, we have found personal sanitation facilities. Mostly in Paigasa, we found the personal sanitation facilities. The rate of personal sanitation facilities was higher, but in other areas, shared facilities were higher. And if you also look at the one of the quotation from the FGD about the sanitation facilities, you will also see that the scenario for the women users is really very stigmatized. So I'm just going to read out one quotation. The toilets are occupied by men in the morning My school-going daughter needs to wait a long time to use the toilet before going to school. Male members of the family and the community keep standing in front of the toilet. That is why my daughter feels shy about using the toilet in front of them. So this is the very common scenario in urban slum, in urban low-income setting. So we have also found that access to bathing facilities, this was another challenge. Um, Particularly, most of the women respondents told us that in most cases they don't have separate bathing places or facilities, and that causes different type of problems in their daily life. So in terms of access to hygiene facilities, we have also found that women are the, sorry. So in terms of access to hygiene facilities, we have also found that women are the, women are mostly responsible for managing hygiene facilities at household level. But however, in terms of menstrual hygiene management, we have found that the practice is as earlier. I mean, as we know that most of the in low income setting, old piece of cloths are being used for managing the menstrual hygiene. So the situation is, I mean, women, since women do not have access to resources, do not have access to financial management, so they cannot actually buy, safely buy the safe material or hygiene material for managing the menstrual hygiene management. So what were the key barriers and challenges faced by women in water collection? So as we said that, most of the cases, since women and adolescent girls need to collect water, and since they need to, invest huge time for collecting water, that's why they could not participate in income generating activities, because their main role is keeping the family and household okay, and they need to manage the water, sanitation and hygiene related management of the household. That's why, and since they have to invest a lot of time for that, that's why in most of the cases we have found that women respondent claim that they could not participate in income generating activities. And were some other challenges, like women with distance of water points disrupt girls' education. So this was another big challenge. Responsibility of collecting water hinders women development and income, and unequal distribution of water points create another challenges. So these were the challenges, but we have picked two major challenges from here. One is women could not participate in income generating activities, and among adolescent girls, many actually told that due to their involvement in water collection, they could not actually attend school in time. We have also found some other challenges accessing sanitation and facilities. So most of the cases we have found that wait in queue, separate toilet for lack of separate toilet for women, and location of the toilet. I mean, distance from the household to toilet is also becomes another challenge, and issue of privacy and dignity. So these are the major challenges that we have found. So in most cases, women, I mean, adolescent girls, they informed us that lack of security means, the toilet does not have the, lock facilities from inside. And also the other basic amenities like, light, particularly at night, So these are the challenges that women and adolescent girls, they actually have to face during getting access to sanitation facilities. And this also causes some other social and cultural taboo, and due to some other social and cultural taboos, they actually have to face some other challenges in terms of getting access the facilities. So we have also found that some gender-based violence faced by the women in all areas where the project has been working. We have found that some of the gender-based violence also took place in terms of water sanitation and hygiene facilities. I am also going to read out another slide to give you an idea about the types of the GVB. In most of the remote areas like Golbagan the poor households have toilets which are built 3 to 4 feet above the land to keep the toilets safe from floodwater. Those toilets have torn cloths or sacks as the only medium of privacy. The toilets are far away from their home. Women and girls have no options but to use those toilets. They feel unsafe because there were some incidents of harassing girls and women when using those toilets. So as I said, the gender-based violence for the women and adolescent girls, particularly while using the sanitation facilities because lack of safety and security issues. So we have founded some social norms related to WASH and MHM that also hinders towards achieving gender transformative WASH. So what were the social norms and MHM practices? Women do not discuss MHM with men of the family. So 96% respondent actually told us that they don't discuss. 40% women feels uncomfortable in buying MHM products from the shops. 22% women dry used clothes inside room due to shyness. And 87% in their actually women actually cleaning, cooking and household works. And this is very common. 65% they are taking up care of children and the elderly person, and 48% collecting water and doing laundry at home. So these are the social norms and practices that also hinders women's towards getting access gender transformative wash facilities. In terms of decision making, we have found also the very gender stereotype situation. So daily household chores, and you will find that 64% women, they are actually primarily responsible for all the household chores. And purchasing wash products, 66%, this is the
I think Mahadeep bhai's internet might be, a bit problematic, or is it just me? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe. Let's wait for a few minutes, maybe 1 minute, and I'll try to reconnect him.
So as I was saying, like in terms of decision making in household, we have found also significant inequalities in decision making in household level. So regarding involvement of women in decision-making process. So as I mentioned, in terms of daily household chores, purchasing wash products, purchasing household products, in terms of taking decision of the marriage issues of family members, education of children. In every where we have found that women and men, in between women and men, there is significant inequality, and women actually, as we know, I mean, women, they don't have that actually authority to take decision or to decide in terms of the household issues, even purchasing of the MHM products for them. So now the as part of the research, we reviewed all the relevant policies of Bangladesh. So we have reviewed around 11 policies in terms of gender transformative wash. So so all the policies are related with wash. So national policy for safe water supply, national sanitation strategy, sector development plan, water safety framework. So you can see all these 11 relevant policies. So we tried to identify how these policies actually address gender transformative wash issues. And unfortunately, we have policy actually has incorporated gender responsive budget issues. That one is national hygiene promotion strategy. But most policies lack gender transformative wash agenda. And also, we have not found any comprehensive gender inclusive and women empowerment perspective in the existing policies, particularly in the action plan and implementation strategy. So from this policy review and the findings from the showed pathways how we can actually ensure or how we can think how we can work in an intersectional approach for WASH interventions. And we need to address women's empowerment as an active agent, because in most of the cases, women were considered recipients, marginalized, and also under marginalized categories. But we need to think women as an active agent. So gender norms and practices should be also considered. Gender bias in role distribution need to be addressed. Women's participation in decision-making process, engaging men and boys as an effective agent, because without male and boys engagement would be difficult to ensure gender transformative wash inside the community and household, particularly addressing gender-based violence and other issues, because we have found GBV is very common, gender-based violence is common, so we need to address that. And gender-responsive budget is very important if we really want to, ensure gender transformative wash, particularly for the low-income setting. So I am actually done with my presentation. Thank you for your, and sorry for the interruption. So if you have any question, I can answer. Over to Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Mahadeep Bhai. That was a very thorough analysis. I think we got a lot of issues out in the open. We're still seeing that how much we are struggling to get this gender equality right within the wash sector and climate change. And I think it is necessary that the empowerment, like if we want to empower women, it has to be through knowledge and capacity building. And that's a very necessary tool. I think that's what's going to come to life in our next presentation. So our next presenter is Samia Anwar Rafa. She is an associate officer for the technical services team at WaterAid Bangladesh. So Rafa is an architect by training, and she has worked with a diverse group of people and can easily connect the technical side of WASH with the social science aspect. So we're very excited to hear from her, and she's also is the only youth speaker and presenter today. And she's going to talk about an amazing group and initiative that she has founded. Now, Rafa, you have the floor, and let us get some good points out of the capacity building initiative. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I hope I'm audible properly. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rafa, and Jennifer Apu has already introduced me. So in the previous two presentations, we talked a lot about scenarios, situations, and assessments. Now let's talk about some possibilities and solutions. At the very beginning of today's session, Jennifer Apu has very nicely laid the context of today's discussion, but let me try to reiterate it a little bit. If I ask all of you to close your eyes and think of a person carrying water, certainly it would be a girl or a woman carrying a pitcher of water, because that's normal in our country and that's the scenario around the country. In Bangladesh, currently 90% of the water harvesting is done by women and young girls because they are the water bearers for their families. The time they're currently spending to collect water could have otherwise been used to develop their skills. They could have used their time in economic development, for their health, or even for their recreation. All these are pushing them away from their rights and from their needs. And climate change is making it worse because they have to walk farther to collect water and they have to spend more time collecting water. Although women are responsible to take care of wash services at their household levels, starting from cleaning their toilets to ensuring that everyone has access to water or they're getting drinking water every day. But when it comes to decision making, they actually do not have a lot of participation, or they're very underrepresented. A very recent study found that only 4% of the women participate in sanitation-related decision-making. Although in Bangladesh, the current population is a little more than 50%, which means that women are more in number in Bangladesh than men. But if we look at the household dynamics, 85% of the families are headed by male counterparts, meaning the decision-making imbalance starts from household level, and it is also reflected in the national level decision-makings. So to progress, we need participation of women starting from their households to the policy-making level. Now, why are we talking about the need for women leadership in WASH and climate action? Studies found that women are more impacted by climate change displacement. They're also more impacted by the lack of proper WASH services. But when they are given the opportunity or when they are at the decision-making roles, they manage situations or crises better than men do. And when women are in the decision-making power, the countries that have more equality or women representation, they flourish better. Even their participation in the participation or contribution in decision-making has shown that the emission of carbon dioxide level has also lowered in countries with more women participation. But there remains a gap. And the gap is of knowledge and the gap is of skills, without which the women are not being able to progress and represent themselves in decision-making roles. Now, when we talk about WASH services and WASH infrastructures, and we talk about them being more inclusive and friendly for women, we need more engineers, more architects, and more scientists who will be involved in planning and designing the infrastructures. But if you look at the current scenario, the situation is quite not like that. So there are many possibilities to bridge these gaps, but the possibility or the solution we'll be talking about today is Water Women. Water Women is an initiative which is trying to bridge the knowledge gap and the skill gap of young women professionals in this sector to empower them as leaders in the WASH and climate sector. The journey of Water Women started back in 2022. And at Water Women, through the network, we are trying to build the capacity of women, young women and girls, by offering them technical know-hows, by offering them leadership skills, and connecting them through a network so that women together can flourish better. So far, through this initiative, we have trained 60+ participants, and we are building a network of young women and girls. The network is still growing, and we hope it will go farther. As a part of this network or this initiative, a flagship program is the Future Leadership Program. This program tries to empower or train the young women and girls who are ready to enter the sector or are interested to be a part of the WASH and climate change sector. So as a part of this initiative or this program, we have already launched a training called the Shaping Future Leadership Training. This was based on WASH and climate literacy. And we have got a very wonderful pool of participants who have graduated through this training and are taking their learnings forward in this sector at different levels. The training participants or the network members are going places and they are representing the network in different platforms. This network is like a ripple effect. We are empowering some and we believe that they will be empowering others. And together, this network will lead the future of the WASH and climate sector. That was a little bit about Water Women. If anyone wants to know more, please do reach out. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rafa. I think a lot of our participants today will be interested in this initiative. And I think you're doing a great job bringing in opportunities for young women to become the leader in WASH and climate change in the future. And you are also a leader, so you're doing great. Now we are moving on to the open discussion session, but at the same time, we have a guest panelist about whom I will talk right now. And so I just added in the chat box that if you have any question for any of our presenters. We'll be taking those questions after we have discussed some of the points with our guest panelist. Please write those questions on the Q&A or chat box, and my colleague Amina will pick them up, and we will go one by one. So we have a guest panelist with us today who holds a long years of working experience in disaster risk reduction, climate change, of course, food security, migration, and she has been a very strong voice within the CSO network, the civil society network, and she has done a lot of advocacy to reduce gender-based violence and child marriage. So her name is Ms. Rabia Begum, who is the Executive Director of SDS, Shariatpur Development Society. So I have known Rabia Appa for a long time now, and I know that she has been a very strong CSO voice even at COP. She goes to COP every year and taking the voices of the vulnerable and working for climate justice. So Rabia Appa, thank you so much for coming to our session today. And I will just, if you want to say a few words before we move on to the questions, then you have the floor for a few minutes, and let me know when I can start the discussion.
Thank you, Jennifer Appa, for introducing me to all of our colleagues here from Bangladesh and from other countries. Before starting my question answer session, I want to thanks to all of our presenters here, two from Bangladesh and one from I think she's from Kenya. And am I correct?
I think she's from Ethiopia. She's working at WaterAid UK.
Okay, so thank you all, and all of our experiences in WASH and gender and climate change issues almost same. So we are in Bangladesh, and from like Bangladesh in other countries, we are working for the community, I mean for the women and for the gender justice on WASH and climate change issues and health issues. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Rabia Appa. I just wanted to ask you first, since you have worked at grassroots level for a long time, and feel free to use Bangla words if that's comfortable to talk. So even in the presentations, the first presentation and second presentation, and even in the last one, we have seen some barriers, some challenges that women face. So in your working experience, that you have a long working experience with this in this field, what are some key issues that women face, and what are some key issues that actually holds the integration of gender issues with, WASH and climate change adaptation?
Yes, as I said earlier, that actually all of our experiences are almost same. So, that if I think about the WASH, it is, that it is including three basic sectors and issues. They are water, sanitation, and hygiene. And where water is actually central theme, essentially that water must be safe for drinking and for sanitation and hygiene. But now if I consider the differentiated water requirement for men and women, it is the women definitely, and who are more concerned about safe drinking water and safe hygiene and sanitation compared to men. Because biologically, women are more sensitive to water-related crisis or disease. Women need safe sanitation facilities and safe water for ministerial health and hygiene in particular. Unfortunately, I found our plans and policies in Bangladesh are not gender sensitive. Most of the planning documents consider gender as a cross-cutting issue. This does mean that gender issues are less important. Even if they are a gender-specific plan, they are ignored and sidelined in implementation and mainstreaming into other plan and strategies. For instance, in relation to climate change, the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change developed a plan named CC GAP back in 2012. Many stakeholders, even who are directly involved with the climate activities, they don't know about it. And recently, this plan has been updated without any analysis of its implementation failure. And even today, with the increased impact of climate change on women and adolescent girls, the adaptation solutions are only on infrastructure and technology centric. They ignore human dimension and gender dimension in adaptation actions. Again, I should say this is a challenge of top-down centralized planning processes. But they need to validate, actually there is a gap of profiling. I think there is a gap of profiling and communicating relevant evidences from the ground. Though there are several media reports on the increase of hypertension and preeclampsia among the coastal women due to consuming saline water, loss of uterus due to long hours submerging, and increase of skin diseases, etc. By the need of, unfortunately, health professionals, even the water and wash sector professionals are yet shift their focus and efforts towards climate and health issues. Other challenges, I think, I must say, is resource constraint and capacity gap of the local NGOs. Today, compared to even a decade ago, there are a smaller number of local NGOs working on wash and gender issues. This may be, to me, this may be is due to shifting or priorities of our development partners of the dominant role of development partners is setting agendas and developing project ideas. Also, in ground level, people are not thinking it is very important for women to think different. They don't have the facility to use sufficient water, safe hygiene practice. Even though women are feel shy to use toilet in front of other people, and this is very common and well accepted in our society, which we can see also Mahadi Bhai's presentation. Though they have actually to collect water for the female, they in Bangladesh already we learned about other two presentation also, that women have to collect water for their family. So women's actually they try to use less water for them. And my personal opinion also that cleanliness is one of the big barrier of our hygiene issue or hygiene management. This is also done by the women. Usually in family practice, the male partner is do not do this in our area. Never they work in cleanliness for their sanitary toilet or any other cleanliness. So this is actually from my side about the challenges or issues are integrate gender consideration into WASH and climate change adaptation.
Thank you, Rabiappa. I think we got a very comprehensive idea about the situation. And thank you so much for giving us those points. So I just wanted to ask you another question, and I want other presenters to join if they want. So since we have been hearing the gender aspect in WASH and climate change for a long time, and we have seen that there are a lot of policies in place, there are strategies and acts from local to national and global level. So have we seen any specific change recently? Do you think that the scenario has changed at least a little bit? That are we improving? Are we going towards a solution path, or are we still struggling to be in the problem sphere? It can be anything, like, has the participation increased? Do you think women are more vocal? What is your opinion on that?
Yes, I think that women are now in change their position. Like if I think about positive change in gender relation, this is actually due to women's progression in education, also increased participation in economic activities that help them to earning their respect and do their role as decision maker in their family and the society. I have many personal experiences there because I work with this society for a long time. And I see that how economic empowerment of women establish their dignified space in the family. We SDS are implementing several projects on climate resilient livelihoods development and putting women center in all the activities. We observed those women actively involved in family decisions, spending more on child education, family well-being, etc. Also, through our different type of projects, we discussed with the community, I mean, with the women and adolescent girls, about their decision-making issue, about their education, about their gender or WASH-related issue. And due to these activities, women and adolescent girls are much aware nowadays, I could say. Yes, I think this is started already positive changes to our women and adolescent girls, or women and girls actually. This is including their education, including their rights, and also their hygiene practices. We discussed with the community, we discussed with different type of Kishori club, adolescent club, and we discussed with them, like not only with girls, we discussed with girls and boys together, and try to make sure that boys also think about the problem, the challenges now which facing the women and girls, that will be easier to overcome the problems. So we work like this way, and I think this is, yes, we are going further improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabiapa. I think it's also very important. I think I'm picking your last point that boys or men, they also need to know about the issue. Because if we always try to capacitate and empower women about these things, unless and until the other gender is aware of the situation, that this is important for women to have an adequate clean water services, wash services, I don't think we are going to reach any common goal. So that point was, I think, very important in, for our future forward, of what the adolescent club is doing. So if any of our other presenters want to share their experience on this one, that how have you seen the scenario change, then I can give you a few minutes and then move on to the next. Yes.
I think I
Yes. Go on.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
But
Maybe a bit louder, but
okay.
Thank you
So what I
much.
wanted to say is that there's definitely some change in terms of participation of women rights organizations, for instance, specifically in our region, in dialogues. So for instance, there's this African activists for climate justice, where women are key in that initiative. And there's a strong inclusive climate movement driven by women and youth mainly, just like the example from Bangladesh, connected with global movement. So there's also this link to testing and strengthening human rights frameworks. So getting that link of human rights and therefore gender rights in relation to that, and localizing resilience actions. So I would give a very good example of African activists for climate justice. Want to check that, but what the gap is still, and there's still not a lot happening, I think, around practical programming around gender responsive climate resilient wash. So making sure that women have full and meaningful participation. So the participation of women is mentioned of the new programs, but how do we make it not tokenistic, real meaningful participation for local women? So I think this is something that we need to share with experience from countries like Bangladesh, other in terms of building local capacities and strengthening that. In terms of rights organization, especially women rights organization, I see some progress.
Local solution for all. And I think the situation, again, I'm trying to repeat the same thing I mentioned at the beginning, that the situation within the global South countries, they are somewhat similar, especially for women. So I think this type of discussion, these cross-country discussions are very necessary. And maybe, you know, through a strong networking event, I think we can find common grounds to solve these issues. So thank you so much for that. Does anyone else want to talk about this?
One thing I want to add
Yes, Rabiappa.
that is, you know, Jennifer, as I mentioned that we sit together with boys and girls and sensitize them about their issue, about girls' issue, and what is their role, what will be their role. I know this is a very good thing that our boys are now, they are aware about their sexual reproductive health, especially for the girls, and they talk open about this issue, and they keeping their practices in their family also. They earlier they didn't talk about the ministerial issue in with the girls or their sisters in their house. Nowadays they are actually buying their sanitary napkins for their sisters. So this is, I think, a very positive changes to the boys. So boys are growing to the men. I think that time also they more responsible they will be for the family as well as for the community or society.
Exactly, Rabiappa, I completely agree with you. Because I think WaterAid Bangladesh also had a program or campaign, Stop the Stigma, and that was also about menstrual hygiene management, because we still see it as an issue that we don't talk about. But bringing in the boys and, you know, bringing in the men would, I think, make it easier to talk about this issue. And we have to break that barrier. So I think we are actually coming to the end of the session, and I have one question for our youth speaker from today. Rafa, if you're here, I just thought that I would ask you a question, a bit of, you know, being a technical person, this question might be a bit of use for you. Do you think that there are any innovative approaches or technology that can help improve these wash services, especially when women are involved? Do you want to take this question, maybe?
Sure, Jennifer.
Sure.
There are different innovations in terms of technologies, as well as there are different approaches that actually empower women as well as ensure access to wash. But for today, let me highlight one, which is an approach that WaterAid Bangladesh has been working with, called the Water Entrepreneurship for Women's Empowerment, or we call it the WIWI approach, where women are kept at the center of the power in climate vulnerable areas where water crisis is acute, and people are suffering from different issues because of this water crisis. So under this approach, what is done is there are small groups of women that are formed who start a business or a social business model under which they, as entrepreneurs, they operate an RO plant or a reverse osmosis plant, which purifies or cleans the water for drinking. And they also run this RO plant for a long term as a social business model. This, at the same time, this ensures that the communities of these vulnerable areas have access to clean, safe, and affordable water, as well as it empowers these women as leaders because they are trained to take care of these RO plants as well. They generate revenues or they sell the water from these RO plants and make profits. They also this also upholds them or encourages them to become strong business persons. So in the last when we started working with this VV approach in 10 months with 12 RO plans, these women have made a profit of 38%. So this would be a successful model where wash is ensured or say access to safe water is being ensured, as well as women are being developed as leaders at the very grassroots level. So that's one approach I thought I should share. Thank you, Prapa.
Thank you so much, Rafa. And I think we had a very good discussion today in our session, and we got to find a few, new ideas, new key points, and whether we are still on the previous position that we were in, or are we going forward? I think the findings and the key points from this session will be very useful for our discussion in the future. So I think my colleague Amina was taking some notes, and I would like her to share a few points, the key points that she found from the presentations and from the discussions. I think 3 to 4 points that highlight the discussion would be great. Amina?
Thank you so much, Jennifer. These were some very insightful presentations, and I got to learn a lot about this topic. And I would like to discuss some key points from each presentation to understand why this conference on reshaping the gender narrative in WASH and climate change is so important and timely today. So the first speaker, Sigarda, she did a wonderful job in laying the context of how this scenario is in East Africa. We got to understand from her portrayal of how it is about the recommendations she left and why they are important. Her main recommendations were focusing on the importance of gender responsive budgeting. She also focused on the participation of women in government planning, in policies, and in decision making. And finally, the need for advocacy for climate resilient WASH investment to be gender responsive. All these pointers all focus to one key point, and that would be the participation of women everywhere, because unless we can incorporate women in these policies or in the decision-making process, we cannot expect to see a future where women are playing a key role in ensuring the WASH scenario and the climate change scenario is well adapted. Next, Mahdi Bhai showed us through his research in Paikgacha about how women are doing in case of access to water, in case of access to sanitation, and also hygiene, where women are mostly responsible for water collection, where they sometimes have to travel long distances and sometimes even multiple times a day. This causes problems such as it leads them to not be able to participate in income generating activities, as well as they are marginalized, and sometimes women with disabilities also face great challenges. And on the basis of this scenario, he also showed us how school-going daughters of these families face great challenges, sometimes in case of even using toilets, where they face a lack of security and also a fear of harassment. In these circumstances, gender-based violence is also seen, and there's inequality between men and women in case of decision making. In light of these incidents, we can see the policy gaps that Madhibhai spoke about, and these policies do to an extent strengthen the participation of women, but these are not implemented well enough for women to be integral parts in the systems. So there's a necessity to see women as active agents, to incorporate women in all decision-making processes. And he also echoed with Segarda's point about the importance of women's participation in decision-making and the importance of gender-responsive budgeting. Rafa Appa shared with us her wonderful initiative, Water Women, where it is essentially tackling the underrepresentation of women in WASH and climate change scenario. This initiative of hers is a network which aims to bridge the gender gap in knowledge and skills in terms of WASH and climate change. She's also spoke of the great innovation from WaterAid Bangladesh, which is the water entrepreneurship for women's empowerment, where women take care of RO plants, and through this they generate revenue, which in the end contributes to upholding the statuses of these women as well as their economic situation, and brings them up as business people. So this is one innovation that we can focus on and maybe implement in other areas or take inspiration from. And finally, Rabia Appa showed us how climate change gap and policies lack the proper analysis of its implementation failure. She spoke of the importance of sensitization of boys and men in these regards, where men and boys are to be informed and are to be educated about the one common goal here. If we cannot incorporate the other gender into this issue, then we cannot expect full result from this scenario.
Amina,
And,
thank you so much. Oh, yeah, were you continuing?
No. There was probably a network issue, but yeah.
Okay.
And finally, it is of utmost importance that men and women also start talking about these issues. Especially, they can start in their homes and then maybe to greater networks where they openly speak about these issues. They speak about the importance of women's rights in these scenarios, and maybe that can contribute to the overall scenario. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Amina. I think you captured the points very well. And I think these points would go from our each session. If I'm not mistaken, they will go to the conference closing, and they will make a, compilation of these points as a recommendation moving forward. Because what we are discussing now, it's also going to be an agenda for COP. So these are some of the key points that we want to send to the organizer. I think we are actually at the end of this session. I would like to take this time to thank all of you for your active participation, and all the presenters, Segarda, Mahdi Bhai, Rafa, Rabia Appa, your valuable opinion and points were highly appreciated, and I think all our participants were at least enlightened, and they got to know a lot from this discussion. And since we are very close to Women's Day, I think these discussions need to happen more often. So thank you so much for joining this session. And I think the organizers are requesting to turn on everyone's camera so they can take a screenshot. So if you're able to, turn on your video camera, then that they will just use it to take a picture, I think, screenshot. So Shudha, whenever you're ready, please let me know, or Fatin. I think I can hear my, former colleagues' voices from Shudha's microphone. Yes, I know how busy it is right now. So, okay, tell us. I think I'll follow Dr. Hawk's point, he says 3, 2, 1, and then click. So great. Are we doing that? Shudha?
Yes, Apu.
Okay.
Fatim?
3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was great. I think the discussion was great. And let us know when we can have the recording, maybe. Yeah?
Yeah.
Fatim?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Apu.
Yeah. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.